Hi guys, this is TurboDog702, coming at you at kind of the mid part of September of 2015. Obviously, this is far overdue, but I just kind of figured that I've been meaning to do this for quite a while, but I've never really found the idea or the concept or the flow that I really wanted to go with this. So you know what? I figured that I'd just straight shoot on it, kind of. And that's the IGAvania stream for the Bloodstained Kickstarter that I was kind of a part of. so, as some of you may know, in the kind of spring of 2015, I was part of a team of speedrunners that came over to the Twitch headquarters in San Francisco to be able to talk about the Koji Igarashi stream that was meant to promote Bloodstained, which is his new game. Those of you that are unfamiliar with Igarashi, he is the person that is associated, I'd say most famously, for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night style of gameplay. He's been a major contributor towards it. He was the co-director for it, and really he kind of carried the project towards the end. I know that there was a preliminary director for it, but he kind of was the person that carried it towards the end of it. And he's been associated with the other games in that type of vein of playing, like Aria of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, things like that. So I mean, I really wanted to do this in kind of a way that was more indicative and respectful of the way it was, but after a while I just realized, you know what, that's not going to happen. I'd rather just try to talk about my experience with it. Because even though it's been a long time since, maybe this will help out some people, or I can just give the due to people that I thought really made this a memorable experience for me as a person. So, where to begin? I guess the first thing that I can begin was, I remember that Rom Scout, who is a community manager for Twitch, he's associated with many of the charity type of events, getting people on the front page on those basis, kind of a liaison between Twitch and the speedrunning community in general. Also an extremely good Soten runner, obviously. I mean, he's the world record holder for quite some time, and I personally think he's still probably the best Soten runner that's currently around. But he was messaging people in the Guacamelee community, and this kind of, it didn't really click to me that this is what he was trying to do, but I noticed he had sent messages to Annihilator and he had sent messages to Bagel Thief, who are two extremely prominent Guacamelee runners. Annihilator, I could have easily been like, okay, maybe he was talking about another game, because Annihilator is an incredible speedrunner that runs a variety of games. But once he hit Bagel Thief and asked him or said, send me a PM, I knew something was up in that community. So I didn't know exactly what it was. But to make kind of a long story short, I was contacted, and he basically said, hey, I know that you're a Guacamelee runner. Would you be interested in doing a stream to promote a new Metroidvania? Which is just instantly, if you're a person that's involved in speedrunning, I mean, like, if you've been in touch with me at all, or if you've seen the stream, or what I do in general, or how I feel about the series of Symphony of the Night, IGAvanias in general, you know I'm all on board for that. So to hear the most prominent speedrunner for this game asking me if I'm interested in participating in an event for the person that made these games that I am very fond of for the most part. I mean, Circle of the Moon was standing. A couple gray spots there for Iga, but in general, an extremely good and very, very solid game designer. in order for someone to sit there and be like, hey, you know, like, we want you to participate in something to get him the press that he needs to promote a game that is his creation, something that is what he desires to push to a market. I mean, when you hear that from somebody, that's phenomenal. And I can't really push it enough. I am incredibly honored. I know that I was probably one of the last picks on this, obviously. I am not one of the best Guacamelee runners in the world, but I will say that I have pushed on it, and I was local. That was one of the big things that was pushed to me. It was like, hey, I know that you're in California. We can get you here fairly quickly. Are you available on this? And I had mentioned to him, too. I will say this. I did mention, I was like, have you talked to these people? I was like, have you talked to Bagel Thief? Have you talked to Protongue? Have you talked to Fried Eel? Have you talked to these people? And it really just came down to who was local at this time, because they were running out of time, and they really wanted to fill this slot, apparently. And Guacamelee, I feel, is an excellent game. If you haven't played it, or you haven't bought it already, and you are interested at all in 2D exploration platformer games, like an IGAvania style game, absolutely buy Guacamelee. If you're interested in the speedrun style of things, do the Gold Edition. If you're interested just casually in the game, definitely push towards Super Turbo Championship Edition. They're both at a very, very reasonable price for how good of a game they are. Check them out, buy them, absolutely. So, moving away from that, that's my sales pitch for it. It was just a matter of who was close and who he could get a hold of immediately. But I absolutely... part of me wishes that a better person could have been there to represent it, but I am so happy that I got the opportunity to do this. So I got this information, and I don't want to go into all the specifics of everything, but it was brought to my attention, like, this is something that's happening. Would you like to be a part of it? I agreed. I was able to all set that up. My job gave me time off, which is very nice of them, especially since the times that were given are kind of rough as far as my job is concerned. But I was able to participate in this. So it was very nice. Fangamer, who was one of the people that really pushed it, people like Dan Adelman, some of the people that ran Starman.net, as far as I was concerned, like, I had always heard of Starman.net, but I didn't know they had kind of had some sort of business relation with Fangamer. But they set me up real nice. It was me, Andy Lasso, and Pink Pajamas, which it's so sad that I don't know his name, but Pink's a really nice guy. But those were the 3 speedrunners that they had kind of set up. We all flew in. I didn't have too much trouble with that. I had to take a shuttle actually over to LAX because my Palm Springs airport did not allow me to fly out from there, which is my closest one to where I'm at. So I had to go to LAX, but that's fine. We got over to San Francisco just fine. When I got in and I made my way to the hotel, it was kind of funny. When I made my way in, I actually saw Pink Pajamas on the sofa playing a PSP, and I didn't... Part of me said, like, this has got to be one of those guys, but I didn't know for sure exactly. You know, like, I saw him, and he was on the couch, and he was there, and he was playing a game, and I was like, this can't be a coincidence, but I don't want to make that assumption, you know? So I checked in, everything seemed fine. And I actually saw Pink at that point, and we kind of talked for a little bit. We had a little bit of trouble finding the Twitch offices, but we got there okay. Got to meet Rom. And some of the Fangamer people, as I mentioned. Really cool kind of first impression as far as that goes. I don't know how... One of the things that I kind of made it a point when I went over there was... Like, I'm a speedrunner, but I'm also a gamer and a, partially a game designer. I went to school for that. So I really wanted to talk to people about games that I enjoy, why I like them, the reason why they make an impact on me. Not just in a speedrunning sense, but just in general. And one of the things that I really pushed on that first day was about that, was talking to them, trying to get to know them, break the ice in such a way, but me and Ron kind of back and forth for a little bit about Circle of the Moon versus Harmony of Dissonance, for example. And just really talking about that. And I gotta say, the whole trip has been incredible. And I mean that in the literal sense, is it defies, there's no credibility in it. It lacks credibility. Because the first time that I went into the Twitch offices and talked to people, I got to walk by Mega 64 crew, and Koji Igarashi was in his goddamn cowboy hat with a trench coat, chilling out, hanging out with Ben Judd, who's his translator and agent to some extent. And it's just amazing to walk into a room where you have these incredible promoters in Fangamer. Rom Scout, who's probably one of the greatest Soten runners, if not the greatest Soten runner and most influential run in history. And then having Iga in a fucking cowboy hat holding a leather whip that he used in the Mega 64 video. Somebody that's kind of been this comedy thing that I've caught on and off throughout college and above. It's incredible. It really is. But I got to talk to them on that, and on the way back, I am sad to say I don't remember the particular person's name, but I remember talking to one of the people from Fangamer, and they were just kind of asking questions about the speedrunning community and how it kind of functioned and how we felt about things. And he was asking questions kind of like an interviewer could. I think he was kind of trying to prep for when we actually got on the stage. But I think to some extent that part of that was a genuine curiosity towards the hobby. And so I tried to answer it as best as I could, and they asked kind of the typical questions. How do you do this? What do you think of tool-assisted speedruns versus normal? How do you get this good at a game? The very common things that you hear from speedrunners. From non-speedrunning entities towards speedrunners. And I was very happy to answer them, and I felt I answered them in a very diplomatic fashion. It's so... How do I put it? When you say it depends, it sounds like such a cop-out often. But once I started talking to him on that, it's really came down to that. There's so many things that depend when it comes to speedrunning philosophy and mindset. Like, what do you think of tool-assisted speedruns? What makes you drive towards one way or another? Do you think that one type of speedrun is legitimate versus another? And they asked like a bunch of other questions, but these were the questions that stuck out to me as like the common ones that people always say. And I didn't feel like they were asked in a malicious manner. It was just kind of probing us for what we felt was correct, how our mental process was towards these topics. But that was really cool. I really enjoyed it. Rom graciously helped us out with a pizza. Unfortunately, the first night, I will concede, leading up to this event, I had spent the last about 7 days, because I think I want to say I got 10 days notice that I was going to be at the event. That whole 10 days, I was streaming on Hitbox, basically to do it secretively, because I wanted to surprise people. But I was doing 6 to 8 hour streams every day, getting better at Guac. And I want to say that it is a privilege and an honor to be able to represent a community in this. And I hope I did them well. I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, but hopefully I was able to do well enough that they felt proud of me. And I wanted to thank everybody. Like, specifically for the event, I wanted to thank Bagel Thief, but absolutely, like, Wesker helped me out a lot. And over the course of my career with the speed game, Fried Eel, Proton, Annihilator, oh man, who else? Namkey, Abyssion, KK, Lady Smell, who's associated with Bagel Thief. They did a run at ESA that I mentioned inside of the stream. Really, anybody that's pushed at all for Guacamole, like, they helped me so much in getting prepared for this. So anyway, I mentioned the first night I come there. So Rom orders a pizza, makes us some drinks. Guys got nice tequila, just to put it out there. So it's me, Andy Lasso, Pink Pajamas, and Rom just kind of chilling out in his hotel room. And it's unfortunate that the first night that I have to be there is the night that I have to go on Rom's account and just grind money so that I can have the costumes that I need for the event. But, you know, it's, to me, again, like, I'm so glad to be able to be there, and I realize that this is a small part of what I'm there for. Like, I can always go ahead and hang out later. The important part is to get that done and be ready for the stream. So I do that. And I push as hard as I can. It was... And I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to watch Pink and Andy kind of race a Mega Man game, which they did kind of half blind. But that happened. We ended up going back to the hotel. There was only 2 beds at the hotel. So I decided that, and it sounds kind of silly, but I decided that me and Andy should share a bed and Pink should have his own bed because I knew Pink was having, or would have to go out actually very soon to go to RPG Limit Break, which he did a very phenomenal run there, and I'm extremely glad that he went there and he was able to perform well given the circumstances. And I just figured that was the best option. You know, like, it had nothing to do... If it was me, I would have slept on the ground, just flat out, but I was just like, screw it, I need a bed to be ready for this stream. So me and Andy shared a bed, and I had Pink take a solo bed because he was going to go off to raise money for a charity that I think is a very, very, very strong cause. Let's put it that way. So we wake up the next day. Me and Pink actually go out and have breakfast. A nice place kind of near the Twitch offices. It doesn't ring off the top of my head, but it was a good meal. Maybe a block away. So we make our way. I'm waking up like an hour early to make sure that I get set up. And we make our way over to the offices. And because I know I'm the first person up, I am literally sitting there with my friend Michael's computer. And I actually asked him the whole time, I was like, hey, can I borrow your laptop so that I can make it to the stream and make sure that I get enough practice? And he says, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. Which, you know, he's my friend for life. Thank you very much. So I sit there. I am literally sitting there as people are walking in, these kind of like highbrow people. I'm just sitting there for like 2-3 hours, just sitting there grinding stuff on Quack over and over and over again. And it's not like I'm trying to be antisocial with people. I want to be prepared for this. I want to represent this community the best I can. And I want to be as set as I can be. And they call us in to the recording room. And, oh man, the sound tech that just escapes my mind. If I can remember you, I will put you in the comics. Or if you can talk to me, I will put you in the comments. The sound tech that's behind the scenes for Twitch, absolutely amazing. Very cool guy. Talks to you, lets you communicates to you what is happening. Very cool guy. And stepping into that studio, though, from the practice to that, it amazed me just how small of a room it was. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's like they make it happen, you know? This is not a big room. This is maybe like, I want to say 12 feet by 12 feet, maybe? But they have the lighting, they have the sound staff and everything else, and they just make it work. And it's incredible to be able to see this type of stuff. And just bringing me and Andy and Pink in there, making sure that all of our tech works. And I guess I should point this out too. So when I heard that I was going to be streaming on this, I remember asking, I was like, can I get the drivers for a PS3 controller? Because that's what I normally play on my computer. And they were like, we're not sure that we're going to be able to do that. You should try and prep for something else. I literally just fucking cantankerously watched Craigslist to see if I could get a PS360 wired controller. And I just couldn't get one in time. The closest one that I was able to find was 150 miles away from me. So I literally took money out of my pocket and bought an Xbox One controller to try and do it because I knew those were plug and play. And it was a mess to be able to learn to swap hop with that. But at the last minute, when I was training at Rom's house, Andy actually said, hey, like, would you like to use my controller? And it seems like such a small gesture to toss out there, but from somebody that has to practice on that controller, especially just before the event, to say like, hey, if you want to use this, this is available to you. It seems like such a small gesture, but it's a big impact. And I will say, I was having the hugest trouble with this Xbox One controller. Like, oh, where is it? I know you're here. Here you are. Okay. So here's the problem. Xbox One controller. Small mini RAM. Xbox One controller, so the version that I got, if you press here, the inner parts, they don't click. You have to press the outer parts. Okay? And then they have these beveled curves. Okay, when you're swap hopping, you have to be able to kind of slide well, the way I do it, I slide my finger across the button. So when I can't do it on this part of the controller, that's a big fucking problem. So, after having such trouble with this, I don't know if Andy just kind of clicked with him or if he felt like it was a good idea, but he said like he offered me to take take his controller to take it in there, and it was an instant improvement. I'm so glad and I'm so happy that he was willing to do that for me and that he realized the need. A way better controller to make it work. Okay, so where do I stick off again? Alright, so yeah, these huge tangents just keep coming. Anyway, so Andy lent me his controller, and that was a really big thing to me. I got to practice with it a lot. And up until the very end, or the very point at which we left the hotel to go to the stream, I was actually practicing backup strats, because that night before, I had learned that I might not have access to a mouse. And if you're familiar with Guacamelee speedrunning at all, you need a mouse to be able to click certain things in order to do the select door glitch. And I didn't have that. So I literally had to wake up in the morning, figure out a backup strategy for everything that went wrong, and apply that. Even before that, during my training session, I did a grind session with Wesker where we sat there and we were like, okay, if this screws up and the game crashes here, what do I do? If the game crashes here, what do I do? And that was a huge help to me, because even though that didn't happen in the actual stream and everything went smoothly, being able to realize where your weaknesses are and where you can adjust for them is a huge benefit when you're talking about a marathon stream. But I digress. So I go in. Originally, my casting team was supposed to be Rom Scout, Dan from Fangamer, and and Egoraptor. So Egoraptor was unable to come in on time. I can't speak towards the specifications of that. I think it's just his plane came in late and he wasn't able to make it in on time, so that's why we had Rocco from Nega64 and his friend over there. And that's not a knock on them, that's how it worked out. So, like I said, I'm sitting there grinding my ass off for this, and we finally get up and they're like, hey, you're up, get ready to go. So I get in there. One of the first things I notice is that my watch is actually on, so if you watch the video, I actually take it off because I didn't want that on there. But I tried to be as cordial and as reasonable as I could be, and I tried to talk up Drinkbox Studios as much as I could because I absolutely believe that Guacamelee was probably the best game that I've played in the past 2 years that's like a relatively new game. Phenomenal game. Absolutely buy it if you can. So I get into the run, things go, you know how it goes, like some things go well, some things don't. It's not a big deal. One thing that's kind of been slightly controversial for those that have paid attention is Rocco made a comment as far as Chibi, which is another speedrunner in the community. He made a comment on there, and I tried to shut it down as elegantly as I could. I don't want to get too much into it now because I don't think this is the appropriate venue at all. Just as it wasn't there, and that's what I tried to promote. But it's not that Rocco was a problem for me. In fact, it was probably a boon to have somebody that is so well known in the community of just new media in general being a part of my speedrun to be able to talk and make jokes and things like that. But as far as that, there's no animosity between me and him at all in any capacity. It was just a kind of a difference of the way it was presented. Like, I'm a very factual type of guy. I think that the material can speak for itself as long as you can speak to the common man on what's happening. And I spend a lot of time working on my commentary specifically for the Guac run. Those of you that know me from the Southern community know that I try to talk to people as they come in that are new about what's happening in that game. Same thing for Guacamelee. And I tried to do that. And, he was cutting me off at times, but again, I'd rather have a person that's well known talking about it, making fun, having a good time, promoting general awareness for this game that I think can be a really great thing than just having me drone on and on about game design concepts and the speedrun in general. I mean, if people really like that, they're going to seek it out. Simple as that. Alright, so that's as far as I want to go with that. So, too long didn't read. No animosity towards Rocco. Nothing towards that whole Chibi and Caveman situation. That's its own ball of wax that I would discuss at another time. Just was really glad with how the run came. I wish it would have been a little shorter. But I'm glad that it went smoothly. Let's put it that way. But immediately when I got out of that, it's like a weight drops off my shoulders. And I get to actually talk to people and enjoy myself. Really nice to meet everybody. I will say that it's a shame that I wasn't able to talk to Iga more. But I was trying to be as reasonable as I could be with that because realistically, Iga he's coming from Japan, and he has this huge jet lag. He's been on this huge tour to promote him as a person and as a director, going from place to place to place. So I can't just sit there and just be like, hey, you have to talk to me about this. Oh, you got about it. It's not reasonable. Like, he's very tired. I just wanted him to know that I cared about his games, and I'm glad that he was there, and hopefully he got that from me. So, moving on. Just chilling out at the Twitch offices, and I tried to hang out with Pink and Andy, and I tried to watch them playing games as they practice and just talk to them about this stuff, get them kind of prepped for this stuff. And it's not just getting them prepped, like, hey, why are you doing what you're doing? What do you like about this game? And I talk to these things not just because I'm trying to get them prepped, because I'm interested too. One of the best ways that you as a viewer can help your speedrunning friends is by showing an interest. Or if you don't know what's happening, ask them and be like, hey, like, I'm trying to get into this, like, what's happening here? Don't be a dick and be like, I know it all, I'm going to help everybody else that's asking the same questions, but show an interest towards it. That really shows us that you care about what we're doing here, and shows us that we're not just wasting our time. So I sat there and I tried to talk to Andy, who's already done, he's done runs before. So it wasn't like I was helping him out a ton, but just getting him prepped, getting him the mindset. Did the same thing with Pink. And these were games that I really was interested about. I had heard about Ori. I heard it was a great game, but I didn't know the speed tech was out there. Same thing with Pink. Like, there's a lot of Toho-style games, like IGAvania-style games, that are really awesome that I just don't have the experience with. It was really cool to talk to them about that. Pink especially, I want to say, because like he's part of the speedrunning RPG community. Like, he's done a lot of really great work with the Disgaea games, but I don't really know him specifically, and it was really nice to talk about those games because I really love the speedrunning community for RPGs. I've always said that the RPG speedrun isn't that interesting until something goes wrong. But when something goes wrong in those runs, it is one of the most interesting things in the world to just watch for 1 or 2 minutes as either someone completely breaks down because they don't know what to do, or for that 1 to 2 minutes, they sit there and they grind out all of the possibilities for how they can save that run and bring it into something that can be salvageable. Absolutely incredible. So, without waxing too poetic on that, just chilling out, trying to talk to them, get them prepped for their runs, making sure they're comfortable, because, Pink, I think that he's a really cool guy, but he was kind of wandering around. I'm wondering if he was just nervous or whatever, but I really wish that he would have taken more advantage of talking to people and stuff. Maybe I just didn't see it. That's very obvious. Like, maybe I didn't, because even though the Twitch area isn't huge, it's, there's quite a few people. But honestly, I think out of all the people that I met there, Romscout was really awesome. Andy was a pretty cool guy, but I really think I connected with Pink more than anybody else there. So just talking to these people, getting them ready, getting them prepped. And then as people walked in, it became really cool. Like, I remember Egoraptor actually got in at some point. And I remember I came out and he was talking to Rocco, and I just got to talk to him, and this was something that really stuck with me. So I will be the first to say, and I've said it on stream and other people's streams, I have not liked the direction that Game Grumps has taken. Probably about 2 months after John has left. I really liked Dan when he first came in, but I didn't like him as much afterward. And that's not a knock on Dan, that's just me personally, the way I viewed the show. It just didn't intrigue me as much. But something that really struck to me and that I really believed is that there is an online persona to every person that walks into, a booth to record something for online or for consumption for the masses. And IGAraptor is very much like that. At least from what I got. His persona online is very different from what it seems like when he's in person. And while I didn't care, I don't say I hate him for his persona online. Absolutely not, but the way he is as a person is it's very different. Let's put it that way. And I remember talking to him, and I didn't talk to him that much. I only talked to him very briefly. But I will say that in that brief time that I talked to him, it was very impactful for me. Which sounds kind of silly, but it's entirely true. I'm struggling to remember exactly what he said in certain times. But I remember one of the big things that he said is, he was like, you speedrunners, you're people that we look up to, more or less, is what he said. And that really, kind of stuck out to me as something that's, even though we're these entertainers, we understand that there's a subsection of people that really care about these games enough to become so good at them as to be able to speedrun them. And that's something that we try to, I don't want to say we try to emulate, we try to respect. That there are people that care about these games enough to do that. And that's not his words, that's mine, but it's the idea that I got from him, which is exactly the type of message that I hope other people get. From what we do online, what we do on Twitch TV, what we do on YouTube when we post, what we do on speedrun.com, what we do on cvspeedruns.com, what we do in any avenue to show who we are as people. How much work we do in these games to push them to the limits, to beat them as fast as we can within a certain set of rules. And it showed at least some degree that he understands that and can appreciate that. And, as much as I have a problem with the way Game Grumps is going on into the future, I can entirely respect that, and he gets a pass on me. I kind of have to eat my words when it comes to IGAraptor. I am really glad that he was a part of the IGAvania stream, and I'm glad that I got to meet him, and I'm glad that we got to talk for a while. Besides that, we got to talk for a little bit, just about Mega Man, which is something that he really enjoys if you've ever talked to IGAraptor, or if you've ever seen his videos, Sequelitis, just in general. Just talking to him about that was really cool. And hopefully I always give comments that seem really backhanded, but it's not about being a backhanded comment. It's more about, I would like to think that I give comments that are more like, this is realistically what I believe. And I'm trying to remember exactly what I said. I think I said, I want to say what I said was, hey, I've watched Game Grumps. You do respectable work. I say you do respectable work on Game Grumps. I think that's exactly what I said, but maybe not. And that sounds really kind of prissy, but that's... I feel like so many people gush and jizz all over what somebody does that's popular that it almost loses meaning. I think even though that it's not for me necessarily what Game Grumps does or what IGAraptor does, that it's not for me. It's they definitely cater to a different audience now than what I think is accessible to me. But they still do work that I think is good, that is presentable, that I would be proud to show to people, that would cause joy in certain gamers. So even though it's not for me, I understand that it has merit, and I'm glad that they do it. And hopefully that is what he got from it. Alright, so next. So just watching Aaron, IGAraptor, and Mega64 kind of banter back and forth about who was going to cover Shovel Knight. That was kind of interesting. That happened right afterward. But other than that, just kind of hanged out at Twitch offices, talked to people, got people prepped for runs, chilling out. After the stream was all finished and done, or pretty close to the end, got to meet Dacid Bro. Those of you that don't know Dacid Bro, he's a big part of the fighting game community and the Soten community at some point, about a 6-month run, I want to say, in the Soten community. Still a very influential figure. He had to stop due to problems that I'm not going to discuss inside of here. Really, really cool guy. Got to talk to him for a while about commentary, because that's one of the big things that he does is kind of commentary for games in the anime game genre for fighting games. Awesome stuff. Hopefully he didn't think I was too much of a jerk or whatever. Like, I kind of asked... I want to say I asked the difficult questions. I don't know if he felt that way or not, but it wasn't meant to be a jerk towards him or in any capacity. But I just really wanted to get his feelings on certain topics, like the fickleness of the anime gaming community, for example. Like, the anime fighting game community moves to one game, and then when the new game comes out, they move on to that, and then when the new game comes out, they move on to that, and there's not really much left over from the old ones. Just talking about that. Commentary style in general. Awesome guy. Really, somebody that I think I would really like to get to know more. It's just one of those things where it's unfortunately you live in a different time or a different place than the person. You don't get to talk to them much. Really cool stuff, though. Really glad that he came in. After all the stream was done, I mean, I'm kind of jumping forward a bit, but so doing the Soten stream with Iga. This is one of the most depressing and great things about this trip. So you gotta understand, before I drove down there, before I flew down there, I had been up for about 46 hours straight. So I did not feel very good going into the stream to begin with. They had said that Iga and Ben were running off of Red Bulls. I was probably the same. But going into that, and I remember we were setting up for the stream for ROM. And I was like, they had all the chairs seated back there, and I was actually... It was funny, I was struggling to set up a stool in the back because we had so many back there, and I was like, so me trying to be the businessman kind of it, I was like, so Rom, who do you want on the chair, basically? Because it was going to be Ben, Rom, and Iga on the couch, and then somebody on the chair. Obviously, that was the setup. And my direct assumption was like, it's going to be Dacid. And Rom goes, well, you know, you're probably the most knowledgeable in this. Do you want to sit on the chair? And, you know, just kind of, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, that's sweet. I'm all good with that. So I got to sit on the chair, and it's so sad because, like, it's the awesomest thing, but I also felt like I was so tired and so exhausted that I was cutting people off, and I just completely missed certain things. Because, number one, I was so tired, and number two, I was so awestruck by just the ability to be able to watch this master at the game, Rom Scout, be able to play the game, and the creator right next to him. It's an experience that I'm not sure many people will ever get to have, if ever. But we managed to get through that stream. Fucking incredible time. And it was so weird, like, watching Iga, if you had watched him through the Twitch halls, like, kind of walking through the kind of communal eating area, you know, he has energy, but he's so tired just because he's been kind of on this road trip the whole time. And then when you watch him in there, if you watch him for just a few moments, it's like he's not tired anymore. He has this energy that's given to him almost otherworldly. And it's just apparent. I would like to say it's apparent to everyone in the room. Like, he's so, like, you gotta understand, this guy is so exhausted, I gotta imagine, from all of this time. And yet, he watches this guy that has spent so much time on his game in Rom Scout and has mastered so many facets of it and is willing to talk to him about it and has been a critical part of this whole process of getting his game pushed on Kickstarter. And it's like he wakes up for the first time in the 36 hours or whatever that I saw him. It's like he finally wakes up and is paying attention to what is happening exactly. And that's not to say that the rest of the stream was a sham, like it was a complete joke, or like he wasn't bringing his full attention. It's just like something, it's like a switch, you know? It's like the baseball cap. He turns it backwards. And he is part of that moment. And he cares about it. And being a part of that stream, even though I feel like I was the shittest part of it, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And something that you didn't catch off stream, and I will keep some things kind of to myself for privacy's sake, and I don't mean that in a nasty way, but one of the things that you probably didn't catch on cam was probably one of the most touching moments that I had the entire time, and it didn't even happen to me, was watching Rom Scout and Iga hug. And I don't know what it was, but it was just this very powerful scene. Something that you don't really... It's one of those things that you just have to see to appreciate. And even though it wasn't one of those things that brings a tear to my eye or whatever, it's one of those things that I realize is an important thing. Like, watching somebody that cares about this game as much as they do, has promoted it, has championed it, and somebody who realizes has just completely destroyed their fucking game inside and out. Realizing that that was done out of a desire and a care and a love out of the game. They wanted to make the most out of it that they possibly could. Like, acknowledging that this is something that's good is phenomenal. I'd also like to say that, so Romscott said that he spent about 5,000 hours on it. I'd like to say that the whole Ritual of the Night, ROTN, I'm pretty sure I was the first person to ever say, so when's the first time that we're going to speedrun Rotten? You know, ROTN, Ritual of the Night. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe there was some nerd out there that was setting it up. But I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that said Rotten at the first get-go. But it was really funny. We all had a good laugh about that. But really an incredible time. I'm glad that I was a part about that. And after that, went out, had some drinks, enjoyed ourselves. I remember the next day we got to play some shmups with Rom, which is apparently something that he's incredibly passionate about. And that I actually got a really good appreciation of when I got to see him playing shmups and Andy and everything else. Pink Pajamas had to leave very early because, as I said, he had to participate in RPG Limit Break, which is unfortunate. I really wish I had gotten more of a chance to talk to him personally. He seemed like a really cool guy, and I enjoyed talking to him and kind of just discussing RPG speedruns in general, and just really cool guy, like kind of soft-spoken, things like that, but really glad I got to meet him. But after that, got to go out to the beach, had Andy get his first In-N-Out burger. I suggested what did I suggest? I think I did the 4x4, which, if you're not familiar with it, so In-N-Out Burger has this philosophy where they have the single, the double, which is 2 burger patties, 2 pieces of cheese. But it used to be that you could stack it up as high as you wanted. You could do a 3x3, 3 burgers, 3 slices of cheese, 4x4, 4 slices of cheese, 4 burgers. So it's like, you should just get a 4x4 animal style, and to his extent, or to his credit, he actually did it, and Rom did too. Got to hang out with some seagulls, things like that. But it was pretty cool to hang out with them and just kind of chill for a while. Got to meet Dasabro's girlfriend. At least I think it's his girlfriend. But she was really cool. We actually got to talk for a little bit about fighting games and just kind of the philosophy around them and who gets into them, why they get into them, why games are interesting over one another, things like that. Really cool person. Hope I get to meet her and Dasabro again in general. I'm kind of keeping her name out of it because those who know, and those who don't need to know. But really enjoyed hanging out with her. Really enjoyed hanging out with Rom, Andy, Pink Pajamas, you know, Dacid, for as much as I got to hang out with him. Just incredible. Like, the first thing I said to people when they were like, what was it like? I was like, it was incredible. In the literal sense of the word. It lacked credibility. When you see Iga in a cowboy hat with a fucking bullwhip made out of leather as pretty much the first thing you see that's of note, that's pretty fucking incredible. So it was really awesome to be able to see those types of things. But other than that, just got to hang out. I remember one of the nights it was me and Rom just kind of drinking and talking about Soten, and he was getting into the game. And I was kind of talking to him about some of the newer things, because at that time, you know, Rom kind of had his connection with Twitch, and that was something that he was focusing on, so maybe he didn't get to talk to the Soten community as much as he wanted to. I got to talk to him a little bit about some of the strats that we had developed, and he got to test them out. And I remember being like, this saves about 7.5 seconds, and he was like, you fucking serious? Like, the experience route that Talc Zealot had come up with. And I was like, yeah. He's like, what the fuck? Like, you know, it's just the amazement of the things that had kind of come up in his absence was something that kind of struck me as well. And I hope that the people that had contributed to that feel great about that. I've tried to talk to them regarding that, including the improved library escape, for example. Things of that nature. And he was like, man, I just got to grind this out. And sure enough, not long after I left, I mean, he busted his world record out. And, you know, Dragon Blitz has since taken it back since then, but, you know, it's right there. You know, watch that race. It does happen. Which it already did happen. But pretend it didn't. Yeah, sure. But yeah, it was really cool to talk about that, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm trying to remember anything else of heavy note that happened. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot. Just know that there was an incredible amount of people that were very nice, and I'm so glad that I met them. I remember talking about my reason for not going into GDQs with some people. For those of you that don't know, if I was to go to a GDQ, I would either want to be running a game or couching. And the reason for that is I just don't have the disposable income to go to these GDQs. It's not that I don't think that they're a great place. It's not that there's people that I don't think that I would want to meet. It's just I don't have the money to go to them. And I wouldn't feel right asking for donations to go to them unless I was either running a game or couching for a game. Because if I'm couching, I'm helping. And if I'm running a game, then I'm trying to promote giving more money than possibly it took to get me there. But if I don't have either of those, I don't think that it's responsible for me to do that. I'd rather that that money goes to the charity itself. Which is, believe it or not, the main reason that we go there is for the charity. But I guess the last thing that I could say is the last day that I went there, and I was getting ready to head out on the tram to go to the airport. Just Rom kind of helping me out because I had some heavy fucking bags. Not gonna lie. But I had some heavy bags, and Rom actually helped me go to the tram station. And it's so sad that I can't remember exactly, but such as what I am right now, I'm still very tired at this point that I'm talking to you. But just kind of talking to him, saying, just kind of thanking me for showing up and hoping he got to see me again. And he even gave me a slight hug. And I'm not a very big person on hugs, if I don't believe on it. But I did give him as much as I could manage through it. Which sounds really shitty, but it's a big thing to me. Like, anybody that actually knows me in real life knows that I don't just hug people for no reason. Like, there has to be a reason behind it, and I was very glad that he gave me the opportunity to be there. And I was super glad to meet somebody that I still think is even a hero. Like, one of the big things that I mentioned there as well to the people there was, you know, I remember when I was watching Rom play, and I was talking to him about the changes that were made to the route. I was like, it's still amazing to me to watch you play, because even though it's like, it's amazing to watch somebody play, but I have to constantly tell myself, this isn't like some superhuman. I mean, in the end, guess what? We're just playing video games. That's what it comes down to. So, it's not about pomp and circumstance and world records or anything else. We're just enjoying video games and enjoying the community that comes with them. And that's a big thing to me. And that was really exemplified coming to this event and talking to the people and meeting the people about it. And I'm so glad that I did. But just talking to Rom and, just hugging him, and I really hope that he had a positive experience with me and I didn't act like a complete asshole, because a lot of people that know me, I'm one of those type of guys where it's like, I'm so matter of fact that it can push people off, but I don't mean it in that way. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be like factual, and hopefully that's what I portrayed to Rom and Andy and Pink Pajamas. And I mean, that's really all I can say. When I actually got on the train and got back, I got fucking sick. I had to go through a huge amount of plane rides to be able to get home and get sick and be just miserable the next few days. Oh man, I missed it. So on the way there, because I hadn't slept for 40 hours, I actually got sick off of one beer on a layaway, and I was like, I should have a beer to maybe feel better, kind of get hydrated and maybe dull myself. No, I felt terrible. I almost threw up. But besides the point. Oh, this is so bad. Anyway, so got home. Again, so glad I got to be a part of this. So let's see. Let's kind of rattle off some special thanks. So special thanks to Fangamer Dad Adelman for helping us out there. The Shovel Knight crew and Axiom Verge, who I got to talk to briefly during that, they really love their game and they're really glad to hear about fan feedback. Absolutely talk to them. Special thanks to Dasibro and his girlfriend. Rom Scout, absolutely, like, I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you. And I'm so glad to have met you and everybody around that sector. Everybody at Twitch TV, who I talked to quite a few of them, got to meet them, just discuss things in and out. Andy, Pink Pajamas, again, probably the person I connected to the most, even though we didn't get to talk a lot. Koji Igarashi, Ben Judd, really anybody associated with a stream. The audio guy who, I'm so sad that I can't remember his name. So fucking good. Really great guy. I'm so glad. We got to talk to him outside of the streaming environment, and he was really cool. Oh man, I'm so sad that I can't remember his name. But I absolutely, if you get to hear his name at all, or if I put him in the comments, absolutely one of the best guys I got to meet. Who else? I think that's everybody. Yeah, just in general, incredible trip. So glad I got to see it. And hopefully you guys enjoy this little story, and hopefully this acts as enough of a thank you to those who gave me this opportunity and talked to me. Oh, sure. Ego Raptor, Mega 64, fucking young other guys were there and shit. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Highly overdue segment. I'm gonna upload it to YouTube. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. TurboDog702 signing out for the IGAvania stream recap that's months old. Take it easy. Thank you very much.